month by month here and be safe for everyone. But we will still have a little fellowship afterward. For candles of joy and concern, we've had to switch it up a little bit. Everyone should have gotten a little piece of paper with their order of service and a pencil, and that's what you will write down your joys or concerns on, and I or an usher will collect them. So there'll be a little bit more time to do joys and concerns to give you time to write that down. Please wear a name tag if you can. I think we have some up at the front for later. Especially, we had a bunch of people here last week, and we've been gone for a year and a half. Not everybody has great memories about what people's names are, and there's been a lot of newer people, so we'll give you one later. And please, as usual, put your phones into worship mode so we can make this a place that is sacred, far from the mundane. Okay, our opening, hold on, we've got to light our chalice. This is by Deborah Falk. We seek out our place in the world and the answers to our heart's deep questions. As we seek, may our hearts be open to unexpected answers. May the light of our chalice remind us that this is a community of warmth, of wisdom, and of welcoming multiple truths. Indeed. Our opening words are from Reverend Gretchen Haley, who is a wonderfully prolific writer for the Soul Matters program. Thank you. It's called Space for New Possibility. What's going to happen? Will everything be okay? What can I do? In these days, we find ourselves too often stuck with these questions on repeat. What's going to happen? Will everything be okay? What can I do? We grasp at signs and markers, articles of news and analysis, Facebook memes and forwarded emails, as if the new zodiac, capable of forecasting all that life may yet bring our way, as if we could prepare, as if life had ever made any promises of making sense or turning out the way we'd thought, as if we are not also actors in this still unfolding story. For this hour we gather to surrender to the mystery, to release ourselves from the needing to know, the yearning to already have it all figured out, and also the burden of believing we either have all the control or none. Here in our song and our silence, our stories and our sharing, we make space for a new breath, a new healing, a new possibility to take root. That is courage forged in the fire of our coming together and felt in the spirit that comes alive in this act of faith. That we believe still a new world is possible, that we are creating it already here and now. Come, let us worship together. Our first hymn is number 108. 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song. My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music singing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth, it liveth. What though the darkness round me close? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm. Unto that rock I'm clinging, since love prevails in heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing? We will take the time to greet one another right now. Make sure we're not touching hands. We can do the Queen's wave this week if you like. You can bump elbows. Oh my gosh, look at those Pettinato kids. Look at them. Holy Moses, stand up, you boys. Look at how big you got. Holy Moses, you girls too, everybody grew up. It's almost like it's been over a year. Now we are going to read our covenant together, which is printed in your order of service. We come together as a religious community, upholding freedom of conscience, right relationship, and the inherent worth of all people. We value our diversity and pledge to care for one another in the spirit of compassion, to speak and listen to each other with respect, and to promote justice and kindness in the world. we've got a responsive reading this week. It's in your order of service, and I will read the plain type if you would answer with the bold. It's by Margaret Wheatley, great writer. It's called Turning to One Another. There is no power greater than a community discovering what it cares about. Notice what you care about. Assume that many others share your dreams. Talk to people you know. Talk to people you don't know. Treasure curiosity more than certainty. Invite in everybody who cares to work on what's possible. Know that creative solutions come from new connections. Remember, you don't fear people whose story you know. Trust that meaningful conversations can change your world. Stay together indeed. Take a moment to write down whatever your joys and concerns are if you haven't already. And I'm going to come down and collect them. Let's see, Lisa has a joy. Lisa Durr, our latest member of our church here. She joined I think she was the only one last year in 2020 that actually joined. Isla is your new granddaughter. Congratulations. Wow. Let's see, these are from Katie. Joy's practicing Unitarianism and Wicca after a long period of not practicing either due to illness and new friends. Excellent. And worry that she won't be able to go to Dad's memorial because of transportation not really running to Western Mass. Western Mass is hard to get to on public transportation. You're absolutely right. Good luck. I'm going to light a candle for my brother Patrick, who's just having a rough time and kind of doesn't seem like it ever stops having a rough time, but I'm hoping that that's really going to change for him. I'm going to light one candle because I'm so happy that my son Dylan's gravestone is finally in place at the cemetery, and it's beautiful. And I'm just so glad it took a long time. Everything's on back order. Cemeteries are out of their minds trying to get everyone buried that they couldn't bury before. So thank goodness for that. And light 2 candles, as is our practice here. One for all the joys and the sorrows we keep in our hearts today, and one for everyone who does not have a great place and a supportive environment like this to share their joys and sorrows in. Our meditation prayer this morning is by Lynn Cox. It's called The Heart of Both And. First, let's gather ourselves in a little bit of breath. Spirit of life, ever adapting and renewing, we come together this morning with yearnings that do not match. We yearn for stability, for even one moment of feeling like we know what's going on, for the ability to predict and prepare for what's coming next. Yet we also yearn for change. We ache for a world that turns aside from racism, violence, dehumanization, and disregard for suffering. We pray for a change in the illness, grief, isolation, incarceration, and vulnerability of our loved ones and our neighbors. We reach for connections that will remind us that we are worthy as we are. And we reach for connections that will help us to become our best selves. Hold us in the heart of both and. Cradle us in this mystery. Cherish us in the eternal presence of love and encourage us on the path of growth and development. As individuals and as a people, help us to become who we are called to be. Let us open to pathways to deeper wisdom through reconciliation, self-respect, and mutual respect, compassion, owning, and making amends for our mistakes. Source of wonder, move us to express and live in gratitude for the beauty of this world, for the loving people in our lives, and for this day of possibility. To this we add the meditations of our hearts as we enter into a time of silence. Amen, and so may it be. That was cool. Sounded like butterflies dancing and trees singing back up. Our second reading this morning is from Reverend Sarah Lawal. And when I say this line, ask what's possible, not what's wrong, is a mantra, I mean that I use it in the truest form that mantras operate in our lives. I repeat it nearly every day, sometimes several times, and I still fall short. Admitting my full humanity, I can dwell in the swirl of what's wrong in the world, in my life and your lives, in the pain of despair and the weight of bleak pessimism. I can cling to my certainty about how things should go, to my righteousness and to my own resistance to change. I am also really good, like so many of us are, at playing the shame game, shaming myself and blaming myself for all the perceived failures in my life, for not being the best parent, the best spouse, the best minister, the best daughter, sister, friend, for not being the most responsible, organized, gracious, invitational person that I can be. Oh, and I'm certain that everyone else can be those things much better than I can. Perhaps some of you hear your own voice speaking those same words. Perhaps some of you see yourself in that same struggle. Those are precisely the moments when a mantra is a helpful tool. We say it aloud again and again, speaking it into truth, hearing ourselves in our speech. And ask what's possible, not what's wrong. Ask what's possible, not what's wrong. Just keep saying it to yourself. That's what I'm going to do too. Our second hymn this morning is number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere. 95. We'll do 3 verses. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. Now is the time in our service where we ask you for your kind donations toward the good works of this church. And we thank you for sending in your pledge cards. Boy, I can't believe how many pledge cards we've already gotten. Thank you so much. Our first Soul Matters theme this year is embracing possibility. Boy, I love that mantra, asking yourself what is possible instead of what is wrong. If we begin to list all that is wrong these days, we may become catatonic in our depression and overwhelmed by cynicism and malaise. But if you ask what's possible, now you're taking an active role in making change, instead of passively agreeing that things are just crazy and there's absolutely nothing anyone can do about it. One of the small silver linings of this pandemic is that we have realized that we are incredibly adaptable when we have to be. We became creative in our ways of communication and social interaction. how we did our jobs, how our kids went to school, how we lived our lives in almost every way for over a year. We didn't need to ask what was wrong. We knew it was wrong. And we switched right over to what was possible in a matter of weeks. Thinking about this sermon this week made me really proud of all of us, young and old, who embraced possibility, even though it was awkward and challenging, even though most of us had never even heard of Zoom 18 months ago, and now Zoom runs our lives. Is it just me, or do you think sometimes we humans operate at peak capacity when we are doing things by the seat of our pants? When we pull it off somehow at the last minute? When we try something, even if it doesn't work out like we hoped? When we let our hearts and spirits lead us fearlessly because we believe in something? Church, we are made to embrace possibilities. I know that for certain. We are quintessentially adaptive and imaginative beings. So we can give ourselves a little credit for that. We have done pretty darn good through this pandemic. We've managed to think on our feet and do what we must and what we could. That adaptability to quick change, you may or may not be aware, is not something that most churches, institutions really, including our own, ever embrace, really. There are some good reasons for that. In our case, we are stewards of this amazing place. We want to make sure that if future generations can continue to worship here. We have a democratic process here. So unless we can agree with a majority, we can't go forward with something. We are free thinkers, and that means that everyone has an opinion, and they would like to share it with you right now. We are people of principle and purpose, and we really, really care about the things we care about, so we can get super passionate about things. But this is why we're Unitarians, right? We wouldn't want anything less than to be able to think and speak and worship freely, even with all the baggage that comes with it. At the board meeting last week, I brought up what I call in my mind the war of the door paint. And this happened like 20 years ago, and I was on the board at the time. So our big church doors all around needed to be painted. And it was suggested that we take the opportunity to change the color, update it a little bit. And somehow changing the color of our doors became a huge deal. Some people thought it should stay the color that it was because it's been that color as long as they could remember. Some thought it was really time to change the color. But bless their hearts, they were at each other's throats about what that new color would be. And then once they had actually decided on the color, what shade of that color was a firestorm of controversy. Right? Can you even imagine? After what, I know, right? After what we've been through this past year and a half, it is almost comical to think that the color of our doors took up hours upon hours of board meetings over many months before a decision was made, and no one was really happy with the decision. I will tell you, we have become very much more practical since then. We do need to repaint our doors once again, and the board quickly decided that they will stay the color that they already are because Tony has enough paint in the basement to do it without buying new paint. Done. Don't even need a discussion. We are embracing possibilities and being practical, like we might not have been able to do in the past because of this pandemic. Everything has changed. And if we want to hold on to this beautiful thing we have here, then we're all going to have to share in the possibilities and ask ourselves what we can do to make this place thrive. When everything changes, we adapt. And we found we're pretty good at it. And that the world doesn't stop turning because you have to do online services or wear a mask or get a vaccine or work from home or go to school from home. It's just what we've had to do, so we did it. But it does now open a great big box of possibilities, doesn't it? We pretty quickly adjusted to new technologies to be able to stream services and hold virtual meetings, all of which we will continue to utilize, by the way, to give as many people access to participate in church life, even if they can't be here. And we're so much more open to new creative ideas that we might not have been before. Thinking outside the box for over a year has made us much more comfortable out here outside the box. We've built a deck with a lovely patio, a nice fire pit, and a beer fridge. We don't want to go back in the box. So where does this leave us? How do we build a bridge between what we've known forever to thinking completely differently and embracing the possibilities that the future holds? Maybe in order to really embrace possibility, the first step is to toss our grand expectations out the window and accept what is. An unknown author said, "What will mess you up most in life is the picture in your head of how it's supposed to be." It is endemic in our churches and institutions of all kinds, especially old ones like ours, that we tend to hold fast to this is how it's always been, and we don't know any other way to do it. And well, it's always worked for us before. And it isn't just institutions. We all personally can struggle sometimes getting out of our comfort zones and letting go of expectations. I mean, think about it. What important things in your life, really important things, have turned out exactly how you expected them to? Even close to how you expected them to? After my first marriage, at the tender age of 18, we went on our honeymoon to Colorado to visit the school I wanted to go to for college. The school was beautiful, it was lovely, I was so excited. We made some loose plans about how to move there and find work. Then on the way home, I started having these weird pains in my belly. And I was getting really dizzy and I felt exhausted. So we went to an emergency room in Indiana where they told us that it was fine, no big deal, I was okay. I was just pregnant. Oh, and look, there's 2 of them in there. Wow. The rest of the ride back home to Massachusetts was not the ride we had expected. But we quickly accepted that our plans were going to change. We were going to have twins, and we were not moving to Colorado. And I was probably not going to college until my kids did, or after, and that's pretty much what happened. Some of us are great planners and makers of lists, highly organized people who can manage their time really well. Fortunately, life doesn't seem to care how many lists you've made in order to bring a sense of order to a chaotic world. What happens is what happens. We have to deal with what it is, whether we expected it and planned for it or not. That takes some letting go of old things we cling to, how we think things are supposed to be. And that can be really hard to do. Having the pandemic force our hand at doing everything differently for over a year, we're kind of given this gift of knowing that we can change and evolve and that the whole thing won't crumble. We can adapt when we have to, and we can still be happy. We can continue to create beloved community, even in the worst of times. We can let go of what always was and look with comfort instead upon what is possible for our future. This experience of being apart and coming back together is a teaching tool for what a truly shared ministry in a congregation is about. We have a very small group of dedicated people who keep this building and the grounds looking beautiful, and people who make sure the finances are addressed, and bless them all for doing that work. But you have all demonstrated as well over the past 18 months how we are a family who cares for one another, who checks up on each other, makes calls, sends letters, brings food, offers support when people need it. I've been witness to these beautiful acts of love and how we care for each other. And very little of it has to do with our beautiful building, as much as we're glad to be back. Rather, it's been how we go about doing the work of being good Unitarians, being of service to each other and to our communities. We should all be proud of how we've dealt with this unprecedented challenge, and we're still dealing with it, of course. We saw some impossible things become possible through hard work and grassroots action. We are Unitarian Universalists, and we take those principles we gather around seriously. I didn't expect any less from this congregation. We've also seen and continue to see some impossibly awful things that happen in our country, so this is no time to recline on our laurels. We're nearly in a civil war, people. Right against left, extreme against extreme, lies against truth. And both sides think they're being lied to, which creates a very dangerous situation. But after the former administration's intentional hyperbole and disinformation, well, what did we expect? They fed the beast, the albatross of hate, racism, and keeping things just the way they always were, that great again time when white guys had all the power and nobody fussed about it because it wouldn't matter anyhow. Well, the times are not just a-changin'. The times have changed. Even with all the crazy, don't forget, the majority of Americans have no problem with LGBTQ issues, same-sex marriage, the rights of women to control their own reproduction, or women and people of color in the workplace as trailblazers for new business. Most people believe in science and equal voting rights, and that people who brag about their sexual assaults have no place in the leadership of our country. And we know that you can't just undo 100 years of progress with a governor's pen. Thankfully, I think it's too late for that. We've changed. We are the voices of tomorrow. There is no going back. There is only embracing the possibility of what tomorrow might bring, stripped of our expectations for what we might think has to be in order to make everything work. Our country is just coming into itself, I think. We are evolving, and old ideas of what made us great are falling away like dead skin. I have faith in this, and I don't think it's misplaced. I embrace the possibilities of what our country, what our community, and what this congregation can accomplish with some passion and action. And I don't think anyone needs to be afraid anymore about a little change, or a lot of it. We know now it is eminently survivable and might even be the impetus for greater things to happen. So let us embrace possibilities, dig deep into this creative wellspring we foster here, and boldly go where no church has gone before. You knew that was coming. Let us undertake to do this work joyfully, church. Embrace change and possibility and imagination. May it be so. Our last hymn, see these blue ones right here? The last hymn is in that blue book, so if you want to read along or hum along, sing along, it's called Blue Boat Home. 1064 is the number. Below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry land heart can stay. I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the light of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great wind surging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I've been certain on the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Closing words from Reverend Sarah Lawal. When the pull to disappear takes hold with all its harsh realities, may we conjure up that fierce love to bring our hopeful vision into being, discovering the humanity, bravery, goodness still calling us forth. May we breathe into that story and make it come alive. Amen, good people, amen. Hold fast, church. We love you. Stay strong. We'll see you next week. It's going to be a great service about banned books. There are going to be some special musical things happening. So show up. Thanks, guys.